Hey parkour nerds, welcome to STS, a parkour podcast where we discuss the culture of parkour and our roles in it.
We appreciate all the views we can get, so make sure that if you enjoyed this episode, you share it with a friend. And without further ado, let's get into this week's episode.
We are getting to the end of the year. It's November 16th today. November 16th. So we got like a month and a half left. And I do think, so it's like that post-summer period is when parkour videos start to drop, right? And it happens also throughout the year, but I think generally after summer is when parkour videos start to drop. And then of course there's going to be an influx, or at least I'm expecting an influx in parkour videos dropping over the next month or so. Because, you know, people got to get their final shots, get the editing, the color correcting, and all that done. So, but there actually has been a number of banger parkour videos that have dropped over the last couple months. Yeah, so you want to talk about any of those?
There's only one that I really want to talk about.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think we should mention a few of them just to, you know, so the reason why I bring this up actually is because Store does the Store Awards every year, and they have these different categories for different things they're rewarding. They have a Male of the Year, Female of the Year. They also have specific video-oriented ones, like I can't remember. Is it like Best Group Video or something, or Best Team? Best Team?
There's just Best Team is a general award, but it's not associated with a video. There's also Favorite Flavor, which could be a jam.
Okay. Yeah, Favorite Flavor, and then they have One Man Army. But there's no category at the Store Awards, and maybe they'll change this eventually, but there's no category that's actually Video of the Year.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a missing piece to the puzzle, and it's independent of whether it's a team, like group-based video, or like an individual person in the entire video. I think there should be a category for what is the best video of the year, or video part, or whatever you want to call it.
Was there okay, so you mentioned One Man Army, which is probably the closest thing.
Yeah, but if you put out a video that's not just you.
Also, there's a year that I recall where they were naming off, but I think they were all One Man Army videos. Because I remember, do you know, I think his last name is Vasquez, Joey from Montreal.
Yeah. Had
a video with, oh God, what was the team name they were going with at the time? It was the area code.
Unit 45?
Something like that.
Unit 45, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Correct us in the comments.
So he had a video that he shot with Vince, and I remember it was mentioned. And so that's when I'm thinking, like, they do get close to announcing a video of the year, because one of them had really, I think it was Josh from Store, really liked that video for that year. This is probably a few years ago now, right? So they get close, but that was probably a One Man Army mention.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just One Man Army, and then Favorite Flavor, kind of, and then last year was like they also included jams in the Favorite Flavor award. So,
question: did they do One Woman Army?
Yes.
Last year, okay. Because again, those are both like could be video of the year, but. And to me, okay, so when you think, because when you maybe they what I'm trying to get at actually is like maybe they don't need to do video of the year because that might cover it. Because real quick off the top of your head, name some videos that would go into your top 10 or top 5 all time for parkour.
All time?
Yeah.
No.
Just name some. Just name some. Not the formal lists. Not the formal list. Just when I say like best videos of all time or like most most inspiring to you?
Capstone Swarm.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch that happened this year that.
But like, okay, like I'm thinking, go back like early years. Go back early, like most, you know.
Yeah, but they don't hold up anymore.
Doesn't matter.
It's just the nostalgia factor.
They held up for the time because. Are you saying they don't hold up? Well, they don't hold up probably because of one, the athletic quality, but also like the film quality. But that doesn't matter. They were video of the year in your head at one point in time.
Yeah, I don't even.
Okay, I'm gonna name some favorites.
Go ahead.
Out of Time.
Yeah.
Uh,
that was like a phase shifting video. That was like a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
People were like, "Whoa!" Like, yeah, Out of Time is a good one.
Daniel Ibaka 20 any Daniel Ibaka year release.
Like just 2007 show reel or whatever.
Yeah.
Or 2009.
Would you put one of like Giannis Showers?
Pick one, anyone, and put it in there. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other like favorites where people would be like, yeah, this one.
Okay,
really.
so Storm, Free Run,
Volume 1.
Volume 1 as like, whoa, what is this? But also when they did the Barcelona video, when it was like Hendo, Tim Champion, and Ed Scott. That was a really cool video because it was also shot well and edited well.
Okay, my potential argument is about to fall apart here.
Okay.
But what I was thinking was that, I mean, it started with Out of Time, and I was thinking, because that was a big deal. As I said, any time back in the day Danny put out a part, it was a big deal. Professor Longhair, Big Chief.
All time, for sure, yeah.
Philly D, Barefoot. And then
Barefoot tent, them laps or whatever.
Yeah, and then any of like what I think some people refer to the golden era of British videos, like the Ampy Sound edits.
Yes.
Would fit in there. But anyways, I think we're getting to like a 50-50 here, but by doing this little experiment, I was thinking we're probably going to land on some titles of videos that were one-man army videos, essentially. Because to me, back in the day, that was a big deal for me when clip saving was not something that you announced; it was just the norm.
Well, yeah, because there was no Instagram.
Yeah.
Or it was like very very early days Instagram.
And so you couldn't put out clips because you were saving them for an edit. And again, anytime Daniel Ibaka put out something, it was like video of the year because he was just doing all this groundbreaking stuff.
Little Merm videos, by the way, I would put.
Yeah,
some
but then we mentioned some team ones, right? Because like Storm Freeman Volume 1 was huge for a lot of people. I would actually say like some of Livewire's videos.
Yeah,
his
2009 video, I think, was the one that. So, but it was interesting because at the time.
Sorry, we said Tim Sheaf, Livewire.
Tim Sheaf, yeah, also known as Livewire. Back in the nickname days. Isn't that right, Rez?
It is.
There was like an unspoken rule or an unspoken competition that was happening in at least the era that I started, where it was like you make a 1-year video.
Yeah.
And you try to get as good as you can, and you film your 1-year show reel.
You're saying first year. You're saying
your first year. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, your first year show reel, right? Your first year sampler. And it was kind of an unspoken rule, like just get as good as you possibly can, and then put out a video that's like, Tom Pool 1 year, whatever, right? And I feel like that was like a big part of the culture, and it of course, like it wasn't just 1 year videos, but it was also like do you remember Owen from Team Tresor? Like he had a video called Record of Achievements. And it was like a period of time, and it was just like that was like the concept behind videos was just like record your achievements and put it out there, and then inspire everybody else to like raise the level. And that's largely what has happened. But now we have like this like consumer I hate that word, but this this like consumable culture of like Instagram clips. So you just scroll and you'll see incredible things that raise the standard. So in some ways I think Instagram is good in that it's constantly showing you things that allows you to raise the standard and like pass on to other generations. But in other ways it's bad because it's diluting parkour, like video content a lot. And, you know, we have short attention spans and it actually makes it a little bit less special. Because when I see cool stuff now, I'm like more desensitized to it. But anyway, video of the year. Yeah, I guess your point was that a lot of the times it was like individuals.
Yeah, I guess it's not like necessarily a defense of the store awards. Like it even needs to be defended. It doesn't matter. But I think what they were attempting to do with One Man Army when they made that was probably like that's video of the year. So like the concept of like team making a video of the year doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, but I think you proved your point slightly wrong, which is that there are like incredible like team videos that have happened over the years, even before Store Awards was started. But I guess like this is kind of what I want to talk about, which is that we need a video of the year, like crowned.
Yeah.
And it could be an individual, it could be a team video or a group video or whatever you want to call it. But like there's very clearly a few that are in the running this year in my head of what I would consider a video part of the year. And so I think we should talk about some of them. I'll start.
Which one you want to start?
I'll start with oh my god, I'm actually forgetting the name of it.
Do you remember who's in it?
Yes, it's the Munich parkour community.
Are you talking about the Kipa Berlin? No. Oh, you're talking about Neophyte.
Neophyte.
Yeah.
I was getting lost.
You did the thing where you named the area, and my mind went blank.
Yeah. Bad geography.
Or I just don't even like. If you ask me like, where's Matt MA from? Say somewhere in Europe. I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah. You don't know he's from Germany?
No.
Okay. Neophyte like completely surprised me. It was like I went to watch it because I was like, oh, like Matma has like a super unique style.
Wait, am I saying it wrong?
Matma
is
Matthias Meyer.
Yeah, but I always read it as like Matt MA.
Could be a Matt MA, could be Matma. Actually, the brand is 3 T's, MATTTMA, which is weird. But anyway, Matthias Meyer and Janis Schauer are both in it, and so I was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna click on this video, and I watched it, and it like completely blew me away. It was awesome. Upon like rewatches, there's like other things in it that were like not like super duper high level, but it still made for a great watch. And it like revealed like the circus guy, Jacob Volker or whatever his name is, doing those crazy like diving towards a like poles and catching them and like sliding. Super cool. That was one of those like light bulb moments, if you will.
I wonder if it would be considered for that. Yeah. I just think that's got to be like one of the manliest things you can do is catch a pole with your crotch. Come on.
I don't know about that. So that was really cool. Also, like the elevator sequence where they're like playing with the trees and like that was cool. And then of course like a lot of the other stuff. And also I felt like Lisa's part or like clips in it were like awesome. Like she did that massive like downward standing cat leap.
What's a cat leap?
And yeah, there's just really cool stuff in there. And I thought, and when I watched it, I was blown away by it because it just looked really good. It was like a really good polished look. And not too long after that video came out,
Can you before you go on to the? Are you supposed to bring up another video?
I was, but hold on before I do.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Neophyte is what made me start thinking about the concept of video of the year. Because when I watched it, I was like, "That's video of the year."
Yeah, it was a clear standout when it dropped. Do you remember the month it dropped in?
No.
The reason I'm asking is because I think it was still like summer.
It might have been September.
I think it was earlier. I don't know. You can look this up real quick.
No, because it was after SPL.
Okay. I was just, for some reason, I'm thinking that Matt may drop another video, like another group video or something. For some reason, this seemed like, it just seemed early for a video of that caliber.
August 30th is when it came out.
I guess, I mean, that's end of summer, but you'd have to think that a lot of the people in that video are still doing big stuff from when they stopped recording till now. So, I don't know, we might see another video from
that's possible.
From that crew.
Yeah.
I can't define that crew either. It's really...
Well, so Neophyte is the Munich parkour community, the people who are associated with Munich, I believe. I could be entirely mistaken, but I'm pretty confident in that. Because it's called a Munich parkour project. Neophyte, a Munich parkour project.
There you go.
So that video is what kind of started me thinking about the concept of video of the year. And then Kipa Berlin dropped, and that was like, and I guess I watched that for the first time at the screening that we did, which is really cool. And we watched it again at your house the other week. But that's also another video that's in the running. There's like really standout parts in that video. There's a lot of athletes in it, and they're all really good.
Yeah, I would lean more towards Neophyte, but here's the kicker. I think if you edit down Kipa Berlin, it beats Neophyte.
Yeah. So these are two different concepts in the way they're put together, right? There's like there's the part-based video where it's like Kipa Berlin, where each person has their own section throughout the video, kind of the same way Capstone Swarm was. And then there's Neophyte, where it's just kind of a blend of like all athletes and just like whatever lines or whatever fit at the moment, they kind of like edit it in that way. And so I was trying to figure out like which one I like better, because at the end they have like the video credits where it's like revealing who is each person. But there is something nice about the Kipa Berlin style where you know each of the people who are doing it in the moment. It's like this is their entire video part of this video. So I was trying to figure out which one I liked better, and this is where that conversation of video of the year becomes really difficult, is that if I were choosing between those two videos, which would I choose? And I think overall the movement in Kipa Berlin is actually higher, but I think I enjoyed the watch of Neophyte more.
It's shorter.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it too. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Keeps me wanting more. When a video ends and I'm like, oh no, it's over. That's the sweet spot. You don't want to be like, okay, we got another part coming up, you know? But I still thought Kipa Berlin was excellent. Choosing between those. Luckily, I don't have to choose between those because I think there's other videos that are better now.
Dang. Okay.
Actually, I actually do want to do like a watch through of them and kind of like try to really like identify, because I've seen all these videos once, so like the novelty of it is gone, and so now I could watch it more like critically.
Because you didn't watch it critically the first time. It's,
Well, without the novelty, without the like wow
Yeah.
factors, I could be
Mhm.
like, okay, like I actually like this part better.
I think actually an interesting point there is because you were talking about the shorter video, the Kipa Berlin, maybe there comes a point during the video where you're like, oh, okay, another part, right?
Yeah.
I guess another thing that would need to be corrected to make like a great video is prevent the audience from reaching the point where you get critical.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, I've been watching this and now I realize I'm watching a video and I'm starting to think about the quality of the video as I'm watching the video.
Yeah.
A good video would mean that you never stop to think about, oh, I've been watching this for a while. What can they wrap it up? Like what's next?
Yeah. Okay.
So what's next?
So what's next? Well, we'll talk about the comments, and I think one of the things that's helped me get to this point where I've like started thinking about like video of the year is that the comments is like we're putting a heavy emphasis on like being a platform for people to put out videos on, and kind of really pushing for this quote unquote longer form video culture. And so first we'll talk about I just want to talk about Egg's video, which I'm forgetting the name of.
Tether.
That's
I haven't watched it, and
Did I not show you? I thought I showed you.
You showed me part of it.
Okay,
You showed me like the we sat down and you pulled up basically I guess what would be because you described the first part of the video being more like this recovery arc.
Yeah.
And then you showed me basically where it's like
where it picks up.
All right, they're totally recovered and doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, Egg. The second half of that video was incredible. Unfortunately, for the first watch through, I was not super interested in watching it. But then I watched it again, but completely ignoring the first half, and it was some of the craziest and coolest, most unique like parkour movement that I've seen in a really long time. So I just felt like I didn't ultimately end up liking the video as a whole, but the second half of it, and maybe it just needed more storytelling or something to pull me into like caring about the story of the recovery arc. But ultimately, what was most interesting to me in that video was the incredible movement that happens in the second half. So I do recommend people watch it, but just, wait until the second half before you turn it off. Yeah, I don't mean that to be that I don't mean to be making that like a scathing review of it, because it is super good if you're watching like the incredible stuff that happens towards the end.
Yeah, I still haven't given it a full watch, so I can't.
Yeah, and maybe I've lowered your expectations on it to the point where you'll enjoy it more than I did. But I feel like I had high expectations going into it, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of boring in the beginning. So.
I thought of and I guess I think we'll do this anyways, but because we're talking about video of the year, and you mentioned we could do an episode maybe New Year's Day, maybe the day after New Year's Day or something, where we're actually stating like video of the year and our opinion on it. It would be a fun exercise, I think, to get together and like do a straight watch through of a bunch of like candidates and throw Tether in there. And so it's like if I haven't actually watched it, that's when that's when I watch it.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. Okay. Do you want me to bring up the next one?
Well, I don't have anything to say about
you
Tether,
haven't
unfortunately.
seen it, so yeah.
I'm a little fuzzy. There's like a few standout clips in my head. Such like there's a Kong gainer pre at Freeway Park that Egg does, and knowing how like just gnarly the setups are at that spot, that clip really stood out to
I don't
me
think that's
when
Freeway.
No?
That's the other one that's
That looks
designed
like
by
Freeway?
Lawrence
Okay,
Hoffman, but
okay,
it's
okay.
in Portland.
Okay.
I don't know the name of that
Still,
one.
I would say like
Yeah,
that's if it's anything if it's anything like it, it's not like when you think about any like Kong gainer pre's you've seen, they're usually on nicer looking wall setups.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many cool
Like
things that happen in it.
like that does the fountain that you're speaking of in Portland and Freeway Park are like the brutalist of brutalist architecture.
Yeah, there's so many cool things that happen in it. Like there are like big heavy hitter moves like double Kong gainers and stuff in it.
Yeah.
But there's also like Webster with their head in a pot.
Yeah.
Dunking in it. Oh,
I guess some of the stuff too that I remember from it, it's harder for me to name the move. So I can't put it. Whereas like Kong gainer pre, yep, I know what that is.
That's the easy one. Anyway, we'll have a full watch through. A little bit later in the year.
Okay. What's the next contender?
Okay. There's two directions we can go with this.
Okay.
We could talk try less.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk Maven.
Okay. Triless is not a contender whatsoever for me.
Okay.
Yeah. For video of the year. I mean, I don't know. I haven't given Tether a full watch, so I will reserve that. But yeah, if we want to talk about I would talk about it.
I think we should mention it. I feel the same way personally, and the reason why is because while each of the things that are in Try Less were awesome and incredible and achievements in their own right, it feels like it was 2 minutes of footage that was stretched into 9-minute video without appropriately I don't know, like giving me a story to follow or
the B-roll didn't build up for me. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. It was just kind of there.
I actually think if it was just the video, if it was just the clips with like, I don't know, a fraction of the B-roll, but even without the B-roll, just the clips, I'd be like, damn, that was a banger video.
Well, it'd be really short though.
I know, but we already talked about sometimes that's good, right?
But I think even instead of the B-roll, because let's talk about Nate Weston real quick.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what we should be talking about is Nate Weston and not necessarily the video.
That's true.
He's an absolute treasure of parkour. He's so unique, and he has been at such a high level for so long, and then he kind of has had this period where I'm assuming it's injury, where he can't do as much.
He broke his ankle.
Yeah, and then you see that he's still able to find like these unique things that most, you'd struggle to find like other maybe some of the things like that anyone else could do, or like very few people could do or would find, like have the eye for it. Like he has the eye for unique challenges as well, and that was on full display, because you can almost like name every big feat in this video. It was just that the footage around these things, like seeing, I don't recall watching like a lot of preps, or like for some of it you got the Santa Monica Beach like bar trick, like he bails or something. And so that's cool to see. But some of the other stuff, it's just kind of like lifestyle-y footage where it's just kind of like looking at stuff, walking around, showing shots of buildings and stuff, but nothing that really adds to the movements that take place in a really meaningful way. And so I found myself actually very quickly in that video being critical, like while watching it.
Yeah.
Like I was taken out of it like almost like within the first like minute.
But okay, and so just going back to talking about Nate, and I was talking to some guys about Trilist the other day, and they were saying like, oh, I wish he would have done some like lines and like cool lines, and it's like, that's not Nate.
No,
I actually don't think Nate is necessary. I'm like, he can build lines and he can do some really great, line development. But who he is the type of person to go and find something that's super challenging, especially in the mental realm, and be able to like will himself into sending it. And that's what I feel like Trilest was.
Yeah.
Where he was finding some things that were top level mental challenges that nobody else but him would likely be able to do, and doing it. And to his credit, like every single clip I think in that video is incredible. It's just the way that it was packaged together, it doesn't feel like it held attention well.
I also think there could have been filler movement, because filler movement by Nate Weston is still really good.
Yeah.
So if you think about all the like footage in between, and by the way, like the video itself is really only like 4 minutes long, and then it's like 4 minutes of weird credits that happen after. But if you even took that 4 minutes, and instead of a lot of the shots that don't really do anything, if it was shots of just like other training or movement that he's done that's like maybe not as crazy as the other stuff, but just I think did you already mention Maven a moment ago?
I mentioned it,
okay.
But I didn't say anything
because
about
that's like a big difference, where like Maven isn't all, it's not all like, because you would lose attention too. Like if everything was like groundbreaking after the next thing, there's some stuff in it that's like really cool, because almost anything that Chris does is like really cool, and almost anything that Nate does is really cool. And so if they had filled the space with that, as opposed to like just B-roll footage, I think we'd be having a different conversation about it.
Yeah, I think I agree. But again, I almost feel like that's not Nate.
Like he wouldn't.
Like he has super high standard, and he's
the video's called Try Less.
I don't care, but I think Nate has a really high standard, and he only wants to do his best. And he ultimately did it. Yeah, I just wish it was packaged a little bit differently.
I can't speak to the motivations, and it's also really confusing when the video is called Try Less. If you're gonna do your, I don't really get it, I guess.
Sometimes I think, and I think people will say this when they're working on a challenge and they're not getting it. It's like, well, I just gotta not try so hard, like. Yeah, because like you're like tensing up or whatever, and I think maybe that's playing into the title, is just like, sometimes you're just like tensing up and you're just trying too hard. You just need to like relax and let your body take over what it knows how to do already. And so maybe that's kind of the way I think about what try less means. Maybe it means something completely different. That's just my interpretation. But I do think that like he has a high standard, and he is really good, and he, in my opinion, lived up to that high standard. I just wish the video was packaged differently, and it's just because like even down to like the song choice was kind of just like just lulling you to sleep a little bit.
There's also, to be critical of there's a couple of shots that like shit the bed in terms of like framing, like just keeping him in frame in a way that also shows the challenge. And I know sometimes there's difficulty with knowing like, oh, is this person going to go? And, like because I think a lot of the stuff is like, you're not going to repeat it. And so you really have to be a good camera operator. I think like, so from my experience, like shooting with someone like Mateo who doesn't do parkour, he starts filming my attempts. You know, he'll start filming my attempts on something, and then by the time I'm ready to like truly send one, he's also ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Like it could be, I could see Nate actually being a difficult person to film in that regard. But there's still, I don't know. There's stuff that you should be able to do as a videographer or cinematographer, camera operator, whatever to capture. And I think there's two challenges in it where I'm just like, that was not framed well at all.
So he does that big Kong Pri at height.
That's one.
And they have a drone shot
Mm-hmm.
of like the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were going to see that same shot of him doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we unfortunately didn't get it. And it looks like it's really difficult to film without a drone.
Yeah, because they're just it's super close. And it's almost like there needed to be a wider lens.
Yeah.
And something that...
Did you watch like behind the scenes of that challenge?
I haven't yet, and
that was
I've actually been meaning to.
I enjoyed watching that video because it told a little bit more of the story behind like this challenge that he clearly like was very motivated to do, and he had to break it down and he had to work on it in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, and like you have to run around a corner to do the Kong. Which is like, so you're not even looking at the wall when you're getting, it's like, it's crazy that he even did it. Like, let's put that out there that like, anybody else would be like, there's not a good approach. We can't do it, unfortunately. It's so close. Like, I wish it was better, you know?
Yeah.
But Nate Weston's like, no, I'm going to run at it blind and then commit. No, like, I don't understand how you get to that level and be able to like, oh, yeah, I'm going to switch it on and do this incredibly high consequences Kong Pri. Anyway, one of the things I did really like about Triless is when he called his parents. Because it's like clear, it's like, oh, this is a really big deal, and then they're like really happy for him.
Yeah.
Which is like a side of like, I think in parkour you don't really get to see of the like, what does your family think about what you do? You know?
I think there's a picture of Davis Vasconcelos like calling his dad after doing a challenge in the video that he's making right now. You ever call your dad after?
No.
Yeah. Like my parents have no concept of like any of like my parkour abilities.
Yeah. No, definitely never called my parents after I did a cool challenge. They probably wouldn't get it. But they like in general, my parents are very supportive of what I do, but it's just I feel like I don't know Nate's parents, but I do know Davis's dad, and he's like they're buds, you know? So it's like anyway, it makes sense for Davis to call his dad. Anyway, I feel bad criticizing Triless because like every single clip independently is awesome. I just didn't like the package it came in, and I hope that Nate's next video is just give me a little bit more punch.
Well, I don't feel bad about it because it's not a critique on Nate.
That's true.
Because he didn't. Well,
unless
he's involved. He's involved in the video. Like
unless
maybe
he's like, shoot it from here.
Yeah. Exactly. To be this close. Exactly. No, I think I could continue to say so many nice things about Nate Weston and what he's achieved and in parkour and the impact he's made on parkour. And is continuing to do with some of the feats in the video. So definitely still worth a watch because really it's only 4 minutes of your time.
That's true.
And so if you haven't seen Triless yet, it's only 4 minutes, and you're gonna see a handful of challenges that are very unique.
I just want to say what my favorite line is in it. It's that Kong to the red beam, and then the like splat back to cat and then descent.
Yeah.
Like, that's like so perfectly Nate, and so like quintessential Nate Weston in that he's doing a descent and he's doing a high like consequence Kong pre.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I actually I have to watch it, and I think like a lot of the clips are probably available on Instagram at this point too. But yeah, I definitely have to watch it again because that's another thing with videos where you could show me a parkour video and I would have trouble recollecting like everything that happened in it, which is sometimes a strength of having the B-roll and stuff. It just has to take you somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just didn't in this case.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's really only one other video to talk about.
Yeah. Which we've already kind of alluded to Chris Roth, his video Maven, which you
Free the Motion on Instagram is his handle. He doesn't have nearly enough followers, and that's actually one of the Achilles heels of the video.
meaning because it's not getting probably the viewership that it could.
Yeah, because he's not a name yet, and he really should be. Like, people should know who this guy is.
Yes. But also, like now, because I don't think I was following him until I saw the video.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I was. But like seeing the type of stuff he posts, it's when we think of like worth or like deserves, not a word that we like and stuff like that.
I agree.
But I can see why he doesn't have a lot of followers. Based on like his regular posting, and it's not to say that his regular posting isn't incredible stuff. It's just it's hard for an uneducated person to assume when we look at like who does have big followings on Instagram.
You're absolutely right. I guess I think he has like less than 5,000 followers.
So I just want to like actually look at his latest post just to kind of.
Okay, well, actually, this is a good question. How many? Yeah, so he has 3,700, almost 3,800 followers on Instagram right now. But the parkour world that would appreciate his movement.
Oh yeah,
this
like,
one. Oh my
that's
God, it's
really
crazy.
cool.
Wait, he's not done.
yeah, but also like.
What? Sorry.
It's not viral.
No. But here's my point though.
Yeah.
There's way more than 3,800 people in the parkour world that would appreciate that post.
Yeah. That also had like 3,000 likes. That post.
Yeah. That's his most viral.
Yeah.
One, I think.
I don't think it was his most recent. It wasn't actually pinned.
No, it's definitely pinned. That's an old.
I tried to pick one that wasn't pinned. Damn it!
It's definitely pinned.
That's what I was trying to do.
That's an old one. That was when I first saw him.
Okay, that's actually the first time I had seen that clip. Pin. Okay, so this is the most recent unpinned. Cool. So black and white.
No, this is from his video "Too Late Bros" with Rito.
Yeah.
But my point is that he has the skill level and a lot of the content that he puts out is the type of content that way more than 5,000 people in parkour would appreciate. And that's where I'm saying like he deserves more credit, quote unquote, because more people in parkour should be aware of him. But if we're talking about like the viral reach outside of parkour, yeah, I agree. Like, people can't understand what he's doing in that way. But people can understand the Dom Tomato big front flips, the Joe Scandrett massive pole slides, and like sketchy chimney descents or whatever.
It's the visual, right?
Exactly.
Like that clip even there, which was like he does some very unique, incredibly high level stuff. It's at a ground level spot, shot with a wide angle, not probably like fisheye lens.
But that's not good Instagram content, just because that's from like a YouTube video, right? So unfortunately, you chose the one clip that I wouldn't choose as like.
Well, I was just trying to see
Instagram
like
posts.
what's most recent. And again, if you're really into parkour, you watch that clip and you're like, holy smokes, who's this guy? If you're really into parkour, but I think there's also like probably like 100,000 people that do parkour that aren't like really educated on even what they're looking at, and they might look at that and be like, oh, I don't like it's cool, but like he's not again, some of them mentioned who do produce viral content, right?
I still stand by like he should have more followers. But this is exactly why I think Maven, and I don't know the numbers because they put it behind a paywall, right? And that's always is going to reduce the amount of viewers that you're going to have. But I wonder if it even did well in terms of sales, because in the Commons little core group of followers or friends or community, they might know who Chris is, but there's probably so many people outside of that bubble that have no idea who he is. And unfortunately, I think he would benefit from having a free YouTube video. Like if that video was free, it would be like, now Chris Roth is a name. Now people are going to want to watch everything he puts out. Let's put the next one behind a paywall.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on a little bit about like that I wasn't following him until Join or Die. Okay. And the thing is, like, Dylan had mentioned his name and hyped him up. Other people had mentioned his, like, I'd heard the name. I knew, I even knew the face, even knew like where he's from. Didn't know his Instagram handle. Free the Motion sounds like a lot of other Instagrams. It doesn't sound, even I bet like Chris Roth PK would probably do better, in terms of people find it. So, and I'm sure clips have been shared, but just I can't think of up until that point, it just wasn't on my radar. Like when I'm scrolling through people's stories of seeing like a clip of Free the Motion and here's some stuff. So like it just didn't. It hadn't been his Instagram account really hadn't been recommended to me in a way that stood out. Whereas like a lot of times that's how, like, personally, that's how I'm going to end up seeing and following other Instagram accounts, is if I'm scrolling through looking at like clicking some stories and then all of a sudden everyone's sharing the same clip on a story and I'm like, oh, I don't know this person yet. That's a quick follow right there, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's even interesting. Like I told Ollie about Chris Roth. Like, maybe a month ago, I was like, oh yeah, Free the Motion. And he was like, who? And I was like, pull out your phone right now and click follow. And I showed him like several of his videos and he's like, whoa, what the? So it was like kind of like a revelation moment for Ollie, but I would have thought Ollie would know about it, but I guess he didn't. So, but yeah, I guess, anyway, we should get to the video because the video is, I think it's, I can't think of any other video in recent years that I've watched and I mean, part of it was we were watching it in a social setting, but I was like pretty much every single clip or every couple seconds, I was like, oh, it was just constant. And I don't know half of the moves he's doing, but it was super interesting to watch. And it's really that new style, but done so well. He's definitely like one of the best at this new age parkour style, avant-garde movement.
I actually don't know what you're talking about when you say new style.
Okay.
I need more words.
Okay. Axis.
Okay.
Off-axis.
Okay.
Moves.
So off-axis tricks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beans style.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like
he does some of that, but I don't like because he's so diverse. I don't put him in that category.
No. So he doesn't just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can also do massive jumps.
Mm-hmm.
He also can do like descent stuff. He can also do like more traditional flip stuff. But it feels like there's this cultural shift in parkour that's happening that, and I've talked about this before with style, like parkour, like freestyle has historically been influenced by gymnastics and tricking. And now we're moving into this like other realm where people are being influenced also by skiing axis and what do we call it? Like rollerblading type movement. And I feel like the moves have in like the last couple years, maybe 5 years or so, have been slowly pushing towards that direction. And Beans is kind of the popularized version of this, right? Where people are doing like, oh, we're going to do like switch walking and other kind of things like that. But I feel like Chris has really taken it and understood it and has really implemented it into a little bit more of the traditional parkour style really well. Like he's not just doing 360 tuck jumps and switch walks. He's doing some really unique like artfully put together lines and combos. Like even Jewel is a good example of somebody was very influenced initially by the more traditional freestyle parkour when he was a teenager. But now as he's gotten older, he's been experimenting with the more off-axis and different, like the new style. And I don't know what we call this because it's...
Well, so when you were saying new style, it's like, okay, we had to dial this back for...
Yeah. I do need to explain it. So when I say new style, I mean, I guess it's like off-axis type movement. But even just like tricking corks are off-axis too. So it's like, how do we define the difference between an off-axis movement that comes from tricking and an off-axis movement that comes from...
Yeah. I also just want to throw a wrench in this because, like, you have on one side of the world, you got the Beans gang.
Yep.
It is like, what are they doing different? A lot of rollerblading influence, a lot of skiing influence, a lot of off-axis trick influence, as well as tricking, as well as like traditional, like all, a lot of the bigger names from Beans are also like kind of trickers. Like we'll do like traditional flat ground tricking as part of their practice, or at least in the past before. Like I'm thinking like Ross Allen, Josh Malone, did do like
Ross has a pretty strong foundation in
parkour as well.
Parkour, yeah.
Absolutely. On the other side of the globe, you have Matt McCreary.
Yeah.
And Kevin Franzen.
Yeah.
Who are also like doing the, untwisting, interacting with structures in certain ways, combining a lot. And so it's like, is that, I don't know if I would call they do some off-axis stuff as well.
This is a very good point. This is a very unique, this is really hard to talk about because to me, there's something different about what the Americans are doing to what the Europeans are doing. And they're both, but specifically like those characters that you just mentioned, there's something slightly different about it, but there is like almost like this convergence of.
Yeah. There seems to be like a mutual appreciation as well.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's hard to put a finger on it because like parkour style is like what makes it more European versus more American. But there's I don't know how to talk about it. I gotta think about this a little bit more. Okay,
that's okay. I mean,
back to the video.
The next podcast we'll get into. Yeah, I mean, but I think this is important too because we're talking about this. I think we've already alluded to it that this is our pick so far as likely video of the year.
Could be.
Yeah. And so I think it's important that we're like prephrasing it with talking about who is Chris Roth, what's the style, what's a little bit of build up here for what seems to be like a video that isn't getting maybe talked about or shared as much simply because it can't be because it's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Things that the social platforms don't like. Social platforms don't like it when you link to things that are not on the social platforms. Obey the social platforms.
So there are like a few more videos that are supposed to be coming out this year, including a Matt McCreary and Kevin Franzen duo video, which I'm very excited to see because speaking on the topic of the new style, whatever that means, that's kind of the European new style, kind of converging in one video. So very excited to see that. I actually, was it last year Squiggles came out, or was that 2 years ago?
That was last year.
Squiggles was like maybe my favorite video last year.
Yeah, now I have to think back. So definitely a high mention for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, thought there's definitely going to be more videos that are released over the next month. So it might be a bit early to crown a video of the year. And I guess we'll see if Store adds it as a category, but we'll probably do our own.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how that goes. And we don't have money to give away.
Not give away $1,000.
Yeah, we don't have any money to give away, but you get the
Looney Award.
The Looney Award. Huh. Yeah. People probably don't even know what a loony is.
We can mail one to the winner. Okay, so Maven. Okay, so we talked about Chris talked about a little bit about like his style, maybe what makes him unique. I think he can also be like compared a bit to some of the good things we've said about Nate Weston. Both athletes being athletes that have basically high level of ability in almost like everything.
Yeah.
It's like not a lot of holes in their games.
The last couple of years there was like murmurs and talk about maybe there being like a Capstone America and who would be chosen for that video.
Yeah.
And always number one on my list of athletes was always Nate Weston. And so if Capstone America ever gets made, Nate Weston would, in my opinion, is still number one. But I would put Chris Roth in that video too.
Does he have a? And we're getting kind of way off on a different tangent here.
Talking about videos.
I don't know if he has like a capstone style.
He kind of does.
Yeah.
He has a massive jump, and he could do like he did that, like that.
I actually don't know how big his jump is, but anyway, that's not.
He does mental challenges too. My point.
Yeah. Okay, so Maven, why is it video of the year?
It's not.
Talked a little about up until this point.
I haven't decided that yet.
Okay.
I don't want to say that it is.
It's undeniably video of the year.
I don't want to say that it is.
It's not even. No, it's actually not even close.
I think we could. Okay. It's just there's so many things about it that make it really great. there's not one point in watching it that it starts to become boring. There's a lot of like almost like misdirection. Like you think he might do one thing and then he does something else. Or it's like, or not even misdirection, but just like unpredictability. Like I have no idea what this guy is going to do next because he's constantly surprising me throughout the video. And that's a hallmark feature of a good video is if you can't predict what the next thing is going to be. And then just how many things he does that I can't name that are like incredible. The interaction with the obstacles. I kind of like some of it shot at night and it has like a whole vibe to it. It doesn't start super strong, but it builds up really nicely. And this was the first video in a really long time that we watched it a second time immediately after watching it the first time. And so like those are all qualities of what makes it. And we can get into like, okay, yeah, like I thought it was shot well, it was edited well, good music choices, like those types of things. But ultimately, it's just put together so nicely.
Yeah. From the like just the video aspect of it. So let's say it's not Chris Roth. Let's just say it's like, you know, blank person. Shots, great shot selection, like great variety in there as well. With some like there's like this opening line that has two angles, and it's just kind of like this slow pull out, which is like real, and it's like almost like a static frame, but there's like a little bit of zoom, and that's like it's really nice pace setting. The music also adds to the pace of it. The length is good. It's not like crazy bang. There's a lot of wows, like so many wows. But even like what I guess you would consider the like in between movement is still very high level. There's not a ton of B-roll either. And it's when you're watching it, like as we were saying, like there's not a moment where you're watching it and you're like being critical of the video. It's just great. So to Noah's credit,
and Manor,
and I think Connor was also shooting some of it as well. I'm forgetting last names, but great job. And then back to Chris, who, because you can't just have like a great video in parkour often cannot just be that like the video quality is great. You also need a great mover in it, and we've kind of talked about how he's like this sort of like undiscovered beast in parkour right now.
Yeah, it's like there's something. So he has the it factor. It's like you talk about like that with other sports. It's like some people just have it, right? And I don't want to say that you can't train up to the point where you can get it, but there's something about Chris that it's like he's something's different about him.
I just want to make an attempt here because we're just so things we've already mentioned. So I guess variety or versatility or uniqueness of tricks and things he can do, because he has a mastery of like traditional parkour, but also like seemingly a mastery of different tricks you can do and high mental. So like you can expect unique challenges and like mental challenges and challenges that are scale. He also has like a vision, which we were also talking about with Nate, where it's like finding the unique places, the non-spots. Like some of the clips in it are things where he's doing movement. Like there's this one staircase, like right before they go into the Amazon truck, where it's like people would walk by this that do parkour and not be like, let's stop and try to find a challenge here or train. It's not that at all. And he does this sick like descent into like some freestyle stuff and then runs into an Amazon truck. It's super awesome. The last thing I would mention is his flow, which is actually a term that don't really like how it's used in parkour often, because oftentimes when people think of flow, they think of like static flow, things where it's like the wind's not even in your face, you're just like moving around on a rail and not going anywhere. But his flow and his ability to like just plyo every single trick to like, is the line over? Nope. Still going, still going, still going. Like you were saying that during the recording, is like he's still going, Another one, wow, wow. Like I was already impressed, but this line just keeps going, and he's not. There's no extra arm movement. There's no extra set. There's no extra step. It's just bounce, bounce, bounce into the next thing.
But it's like when you're describing it, like you need to watch this video because if you haven't watched it, what he's describing you think is just like, oh, he's like doing a sequence of jumps. It's like, no, he's doing some weird funky tricks that you don't know what to call them.
Yeah, so it's not only that they're like seamlessly and just perfectly connected. It's that he's perfectly connecting things that are very hard to do. Yeah.
It's my favorite video I've watched.
And you know what? There wasn't any in the lines. Like, so I've talked about this. A lot of the stuff that I hate with freestyle lines is like the somersault connection. You know, I'm gonna do a move and then I'm gonna kind of land under rotated instead of trying to like step into the next thing, or I'm just gonna do a somersault. There's no faff move. Like his seemingly the lines he makes favor the spot and they make sense. He's not like, there's not like a forced move where it's like, oh, you know, I really wanted to do a dub at the end, and so I just did a somersault and then popped up onto this box so that I could do a dub. But like really there was nothing to connect. Like everything makes sense. Everything is like deserving of the spot, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay, I think we talked a little bit too much about Maven.
Whoa. I can't talk too much about video of the year.
Yeah. Yet to be crowned. There's still other videos that might come out to top it.
But yeah, go pay for it. Seemingly
what is
Commons.
It's $10 USD.
By the way, what is the URL for the Commons?
thecommons.boston.
Thank you. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't want to get it wrong. So thecommons.boston. Hit that up and go watch Maven, because I don't think it's gonna get topped. I could get surprised in the next month or so. But,
it's gonna be really hard to top it. We already talked about, so Matt McCurry and Kevin Franzen are coming out with the dual video part. I think Jules' video is supposed to be coming out this year too.
Oh, sick!
I actually should reach out to him because I want to know if he's done with it. But that's another one to look out for. Sleeper. Not a lot of people know about him. Do you know of any other videos that we're anticipating coming out this year?
Maybe Davis.
Oh, Davis's video.
Actually, no, it's not. Because I thought, no, because he has stuff that he still has to do for it. Which, by the way, it seems like it's more of like a documentary about him and less of like
a video part.
A video part. Which not to take away from it, I'm still really stoked about it. I think it's going to be sick. But no, he had mentioned a couple of challenges that he's yet to do, and like just knowing the time of like one of them's in Boston. So if that is intended to be done for the video to be done,
do we know? So are we going to count documentaries as part of video of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought the Jared Ludy piece was awesome. Like Point A. That was actually a really good. Like Maven is still better as like a video, but it was like a really like well told story. And I don't know if I'm just being biased because I'm a part of SPL, but I feel like they captured the story of Jared building up to and competing at SPL in a really cool way. And I had actually kind of low expectations for it, because I was like, I don't know how good can this be, but they did a great job on the story. So, and that's what a good video is. It's a story, at least a good documentary video. And if you don't have a good story, then the piece actually falls apart. But yeah, that was another one that came this year.
Yeah, I can't think of any others, and I'm drawing a blank right now for anything else that's coming out.
Fair.
I don't have a segue, but
Do
I
we
do have
know-
another topic.
Do we know when
We can talk
Gatecrasher's coming out?
Could be before end
this
of the
year?
year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we might see Gatecrasher at the end of the year.
Yeah. Who's calling me?
Do you have a? You said you had
Another topic.
another topic. All right,
Yeah.
let's topic it up.
Yeah. Well, we spent a good chunk of time talking about videos, and I think it's one of the struggles with like doing the podcast is there's not always a lot of like current parkour news or things to talk about. It sometimes is also weird just talking about videos or clips, like something like we're saying like you got to watch it as you're listening to us talk about
Well,
it.
we pulled up the Instagram and we're watching an Instagram clip while we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyways, so I guess let's start talking about yesterday. I got a message from a really notable, one of the most viral parkour athletes out there, and he just suffered an Achilles tear. And I'm not going to talk about who it is yet because they haven't made it public yet. But what came from that is, I suffered an Achilles rupture 8 years ago, and had just a fantastic recovery from it. Like no issues at all with that foot or that or my calf or the Achilles on that side. And this is like a more common, out of like all the things that could happen to you in parkour, injuring yourself without actually bailing, because it's something that'll often just happen like from just you put effort into something and your body broke. And it's a scary thing, and it's a tragic thing that can happen, but it also can be something that you can recover quite well from. It just takes a lot of time. But from that, I actually sent a clip of this to Coach Derek Hansen, who lives here in Vancouver, but also travels a lot and is heavily involved in professional sport, so NFL, Olympics, and he's a track and field coach, and he has like a particular interest in non-contact injuries.
Yeah.
Particularly he says non-contact because he's looking mostly at contact sports, but it's not just non-contact. It's like not non-mistake. Like you're not doing something incorrectly. You're just about to like run into play or change directions, and then an ACL tear occurs, or an Achilles tear, or a hamstring tear. These are all things that can happen in other sports, not just parkour. And I know you personally, like the Achilles tear gives you the heebie-jeebies.
The heebie-jeebies. Let me tell you about it.
And I feel like I've tried to the point where like you were talking about like the ethics of teaching wall runs to people.
Yeah.
But I've like tried to
my least favorite skill to teach.
I've tried to come in and say like this happens in other sports.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily unique to parkour thing. It happens in parkour because we're often chasing grip and traction on like things like vertical surfaces, so you're putting in more speed and then trying to get as much push, as much power as you can off of a wall.
Oh my god!
And it is the type of scenario where let's say like 99,999 times out of 100,000 times, you won't injure yourself doing something like that. Like a wall backflip or a wall run or a tic-tac or a 180. But that is typically when that sort of injury will happen, if it does. And it sucks, and I'm not trying to be a bummer here, but after talking to Derek...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm so freaked out about it happening that... because when it happened to you, it was just like... why did that happen?
Yeah, I also may have like been in prime like physical shape. I was 29 years old.
Yeah.
And I had.
You never had a bigger jump.
I never. Yeah, that was the biggest my jump had ever been.
Yeah. You were strong. You were fit.
Yeah.
And it just popped. Although, okay, so I was able to like convince myself it was okay because it was like you were doing that like a million. I don't know how many attempts you had at this tack back, but it was a lot of attempts, and you potentially were in a poorer position on that foot because that's your non-dominant side or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was able to convince myself. And then I've witnessed several over the course of time that wasn't you. And it's just, now it's like, should I even do wall runs anymore? Is it worth it? And now this this new instance of Achilles tear from this person that you're talking about wasn't even on a vertical surface. I haven't seen it because I don't want to watch the video.
It's on a slant.
It's on how slanted?
I'm gonna say like steeper than 45 degrees, but like pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the type of, like, for those of you that don't know, in other sports, like when Achilles tears typically happen, it's usually within the first few strides of like coming, like if you're in football, coming off the or American football, coming off the starting line. If you're in soccer and you're at a state of like not play, like you're standing, and then a ball gets kicked like into your vicinity and you're just kind of at a jog, and then all of a sudden you have to start sprinting. It's usually in those like first couple of strides that this would happen. So it's actually lower speeds, relatively speaking. So like when we thought, and the thing is, most of parkour actually happens at lower speeds, contrary to popular belief.
Unless you're Thomas MPO.
Yeah, and you're just sprinting into Kongs and stuff. But most of parkour actually happens at lower speeds. So that is, again, when it occurs, is like trying to get as much traction or as much power as you can out of like a starting position.
So I guess this is the thing. So it's like in parkour, I've only seen this on wall runs or like vertical, like at least slightly vertical surfaces, like slants or fully upright. I don't think I've ever seen it just running. Like we watched that video of the track and field athlete tearing an Achilles just on an approach for high jump?
Yeah.
So a high jump approach. And so that's flat ground and it popped. So, and the reason why this is like my biggest fear is because like you could, like preceding that injury, you could be totally fine. Like you could not feel any pain. It could just you just start running and it pops. And it's absolutely terrifying. So it's like, the question is, how do we avoid this ticking time bomb that lives in our lower legs?
Yeah. And I actually am not aware of anyone who has torn their Achilles doing parkour that wasn't involved with like a vertical surface, so like either slanted or like the flat ground example. I'm not aware, but it happens all the time in other sports. So there will be, there probably already is someone in parkour that's done it, that's had it happen on like a flat ground approach. It happens in CrossFit a lot with like how they do box jumps. They're doing box jumps for time, so they're like jumping up and then doing a backwards drop and then trying to rebound out of that backwards drop again, because an Achilles tear happens on the concentric. So it happens when you're when you're pushing. So it's not something that happens like on a landing. Because I've had people ask, like I've had people actually, several people DM me whenever they see me do like a level cat, and they'll like a level arm jump, level cat leap, and they'll, where you come in and it seems like a lot of sheer force, and they're like, how is that on the Achilles? And I'm like, oh, it's totally fine. But it's I think it just becomes like this logical fear that like, oh, you're entering this position that you're jumping into what seems like a very sheer force,
and it's like, gonna push your ankle back and rip it, right? But that's not how it happens.
And that's also like would be the wrong technique.
Yeah.
because you're not getting enough slip. You're like trying to like force the traction. So I actually think that's a relatively safe movement to do. Go do your level cat leaps. They're fine. Um, unless you're Tom
Although
Cruise.
I did see that one. Well, he doesn't know how to cat leap,
Mm-hmm.
but we did years and years ago.
Oh,
I
someone
saw
tib fib.
yeah. on a cat leap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's actually another one. The tib. So like, there's 3 injuries I can think of that happen in parkour, seemingly where you don't bail. So it's Achilles tear is probably actually the most like prevalent one, and then there's tib fib, which is fracturing or breaking your lower leg, your tibia and fibula. Because like Kent Johns did one on like a relatively small drop stride, yeah. But that can also happen when you just land something. You can just like land on your feet and it breaks.
Yeah, but Kent Johns also like unhealthy vegan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like a lot of that was playing. But I also think his training load was really high at the time.
Yes, he was doing dailies. Mm-hmm. He wasn't getting adequate nutrients from his diet, in my opinion. I could be. And
to what I'm going to get at with something that Coach Derek Hansen is saying is like overly specific type training. So only doing parkour, nothing, not any like general training to supplement or even take a break from parkour. Anyway, the third injury that we see a bit of is ACL tear. ACL tear or MCL strain. I've seen a few that have happened on just drops. So someone will land out of a move and like their knee will just buckle. And so there's actually no direct, because a lot of times people will think an ACL tear will be like, oh, directional change from torque, right? But it sometimes actually could just be like a very linear straight landing and the knee buckles in. Again, I think a lot. The thing that we can look at the most is what sort of shape, what sort of condition is this person or athlete in going into it. And so you have like, if you had like 1,000 people, doing parkour, and you're like, which of these people are going to have one of these like non-contact or non-bail type injuries happen, I would say probably like the untrained. So someone who's maybe like overweight, not fit, and doing a very specialized movement that they're not otherwise getting a lot of like preparation reps for, which is why we unfortunately sometimes like think about like wall runs. Maybe we need to put people through much more training before we start encouraging them to sprint or put a lot of speed into a wall run.
Just run faster.
Yeah,
you got it.
Just try a little harder. You got So maybe that's actually not the direction of how wall runs or tack backs 180s should be taught. Maybe there needs to be more training, more time spent jumping, more time spent sprinting, running, doing takeoffs, various plyometric drills before we get into just not like you can teach people the wall run, but like before you're like encouraging them to put in a lot more effort. And I would say the other side of the spectrum is like the highly trained athlete who is maybe not getting adequate amount of rest, and so their bodies maybe like more certain parts of their body might be more vulnerable. This is a tricky thing because we may never have like just good research to point at like how you would prevent or how you would see like what sort of like athletes this kind of thing happens to. Coach Hansen, his I told you like before we were recording, like his opinion is that there's not enough general training, and I don't agree with like his prescription, because he's saying that there needs to be a 5-to-1 ratio between like general to specific. And in parkour, that's a tricky one because a lot of the stuff we do in parkour is general. Like you're doing like a general like we think like what is general preparation, strength, speed, power, a variety of such. Not always like we're doing tons of variety, and we don't have like one of the strengths of parkour is you don't have like an opponent that's trying to mess you up and trying to make you do all these weird things, and you don't have unless you're competing, you don't have a clock. Mm-hmm. on you. It's just, okay, I can rest for as long as I want to rest.
Yeah.
And then I take another attempt at the thing that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things that happen in other, make these types of injuries happen in other sports don't exist in parkour. And then it's just like, what is general? What is general? I guess from my experience, I did a lot of weight training, did a lot of parkour, and then I introduced this intense plyometric program into my training, and I was piling it on top of some other training, and I was very fatigued.
Yeah.
All the time doing this program, very fatigued. The result of the program is that my all-time best jump, all-time most power, and so it was a success in that regard. And then I also at the time was calorie deficient. I was dieting down. I was my lightest as in my late 20s, the lightest I'd ever been.
So you potentially, for what happened to you with the Achilles tear, was that you were overtrained, maybe over specialized training.
Yeah.
And potentially nutrient deficient, and doing a movement that is potentially putting you at a higher
specialized movement, high effort on my offside.
Yeah.
So the technique is not as dialed in.
And on a vertical wall.
Yeah.
Which is seemingly,
yeah,
I think, doing more than just the flat wall, flat ground thing would do.
Yeah. And so
but the question is here's the question is if it didn't happen that day, would it have happened somewhere else on a different on a flat ground takeoff or something?
Yeah, and that would have sucked because I would have had less to point at in terms of what's going on. I will say that again, my training was a lot of weights, a lot of parkour, and then when I piled on this plyometric program, it wasn't a plyometric the type of plyometrics we do now, where we're doing track and field. There's not boxes, it's just ground, just you and the ground, right? And there's a lot of different variations, and there's also a lot of sprint work. I wasn't doing any of that. I was doing high volume sets of depth jumps.
Yeah.
From high boxes.
So dropping from high and then jumping again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot. And I actually think the technique I was using to perform them had a lot of, I guess we'll say strain, and not when you're straining a certain part of your body muscle group, it's not always a bad thing, but a lot of strain on the Achilles.
Yeah.
I would have I wouldn't have a lot of hip hinge or knee hinge in my takeoff. Especially a really hard movement to do that I don't actually recommend that I was doing a lot of time was depth jump to broad jump.
Yeah.
And just the way that my anatomy is set up, I would lean heavily. You would watch my ankle flex a lot in that movement, and I wouldn't have a lot of hip or knee hinge or hip hinge or knee flexion.
So it would just be taking it all in the ankle, all in the Achilles.
Yeah. And again, having said all that, it's also a who knows sort of thing.
Just roll the dice.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
Yeah. It's I think
there's a ticking time bomb in your lower leg.
Yeah.
And you have no idea when it's gonna go off. This is why it's my biggest fear. Is just because it just feels like I have no real control over it. Yeah. And maybe I have more control than I give myself credit, but it feels like such a scary thing to happen, right? It's for you, it's I could see, okay, maybe it happened to Renee because of all these factors, and I can point to them, and it's all right, I'm not doing those, so I should be okay. But I've also seen people who train about as much as me with about the same physical condition, and they rupture their Achilles tendon. So it's just I don't know.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is there's a lot of unknown. I think there's some general takeaways for if you're trying to prevent these non-contact injuries. And the funny thing is, a lot of what's being popularized now, a lot through social media, is isolation, slow isolation weighted movements. like the knees over toes type of program where it's like, oh, you want to avoid like damaging your knee, you got to go through this range of motion with your knees over your toes and do a bunch of squats and lunges with that. And then there's also like, oh, you don't want to tear your hamstrings. Tear your hamstring. By the way, I've had a hamstring tear, and I'm very good at Nordics. Very good at that exercise, and so it doesn't prevent hamstring tear. There's a lot of, again, these like slow weighted isolation movements to prevent things that are happening under like very dynamic, complicated scenarios, and so I think some of the things that can potentially help is the less sexy type of habits, right? Sleep well, don't overtrain, whatever that means. I think people get confused with overtraining because they see someone's training load and they're like, they're overtraining because they're training so much. You can condition yourself. You can gradually, like progressively overload training. So that's totally fine. But you know, if you're feeling like trash all the time because you're not sleeping enough and you're training too much, you should either sleep more, dial back your training, or both, right? Having a relatively healthy diet with enough protein, collagen sources, vitamin C. There is some data out there to suggest that
that
these
was the
things
surprising
can be
one to
helpful.
me is vitamin C.
Yeah, didn't know about the vitamin C until maybe like a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Helps with collagen synthesis, supposedly. I am by no means an authority on it.
I've realized like recently, because I've been going through this whole like healthy kick in my own personal life, and I don't eat nearly enough protein every day, and I don't know how anybody actually reaches the daily recommended intake of fiber every day. Like, you probably don't. Yeah. Look it up. It's 38 grams for a male. And yesterday, I'm supplementing fiber, like a lot of fiber. Yesterday, I hit 35. How do you do it with like?
I need to get a Cliff Bar.
How do you do it?
Cliff Bar, Quest Bar sponsorship.
How do you do it with whole food? Like, at all? How is that possible?
A Quest Bar has 10 to 15.
Nice. My smoothies that I have every morning have like 21.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting most of my fiber in. And then I'm just like, but like if I like the regular meals that I eat, like it's not like I'm eating unhealthy, like a kale salad or, you know, and like chicken drumsticks or whatever. But like kale only has like less than 2 grams of protein per cup.
Probably because I think it's the
or not protein, sorry, fiber.
Yeah, I think it's usually when you say like eat your like green like leafy vegetables.
Yeah,
I think it's actually the someone who might know more about nutrition can correct me on this. But I think it's actually not the leaf. It's like the rest of the vegetable that has more fiber, like broccoli, for example. You know, it's like the end of the broccoli is kind of what gets eaten, but it's actually like the stalk or whatever that probably has more fiber.
Broccoli in general has a little bit more fiber, but still, it's like you eat like a whole cup of it, and it's still like that's only like 10% of my daily fiber. Like,
you might have to have some bread, get some
fiber in your bread,
get some gluten whole in you, you know,
whole wheat bread, or
get some of that toxic gluten in your body.
Oh man.
Okay, so
avocado has a lot of fiber.
Really?
Yeah. So my smoothies now, actually, I put half of an avocado in there along with all the other goodies. Plus,
and then is it even being absorbed? You know, if you're not spreading it out.
And that's the other thing too, is it's supposed to be soluble fiber, and a lot of things also have insoluble fiber, which makes it not the right kind of fiber for you to get. Anyway.
You're on the fiber quest.
It's the fiber quest. Like, I'm trying to get enough fiber every day, and I'm definitely not getting nearly enough protein, even though it feels like I'm eating a lot of protein. So I don't know how you do it.
To go back to the non-nutrition stuff for Just general, like, again, these non-contact, non-bail injuries. Last thing is actually like traditional plyometric and track and field type training and drills. I think a lot of athletes will get into weight training, and I still do it. We're doing it right now. We're in the off season game. But I think one of the mistakes that I made early on with my parkour journey was really loving the barbell, loving the weights, because it can be incredibly motivating for like those tiny number increases.
Number
right?
go up.
Number go up.
Number go up. Make me feel good. Make brain happy.
and this includes powerlifting. This includes Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding. You name it. Is it can be incredibly motivating to just watch those little numbers go up. But they are that is one tiny piece of what we would consider like a general training approach. So one of the other pieces that needs to be considered is how you sprint. Are you sprinting and approaching challenges in such a way that is going to be preventative of injury? Do you spend time doing full out sprints with like full out decelerations? Do you spend time doing like maximum effort jumps? Do you spend time doing low effort jumps, low intensity training, and like aerobic training as well? I think aerobic training is like hugely overlooked in parkour, but it's like, it really helps to have stronger lungs and heart.
And for general health.
Because guess what brings these like nutrients and healing to your joints and connective tissue? It's actually having a better cardiovascular system. So
also you could attempt something more, or with lower rest times.
So, but I think the reason that these methods, so again, like cardiovascular training and plyometric or track and field training, don't get practiced as much, is because they're just not as motivating. They're not as sexy unless you're like, oh, I'm gonna run 5Ks or 10Ks or whatever and try to beat my time every time. Not everything needs to be about PRing. Is what I guess also about setting personal records. Actually, for me, having been in the game this long, I think my personal records are happening on the street. In overcoming challenges that were either mentally or physically too difficult at one point, and trying to get around them. That's, I think, where the reward should come. I think we should be putting much less stock on, if you're a parkour athlete, on how much weight you can lift. I think it's cool. I think it's a good thing to track for like improvement of strength, but you shouldn't be, if your real interests are in parkour, then that's where the PR should be happening, is on the streets.
Well, I agree. I mean, like, what are you doing, or what is the goal of your training? Is the goal for your number to go up, or is the goal for you to be a better parkour athlete? And it's okay if it's both. And it's okay if it's not even parkour, if it's number go up. But you just have to, like, I think, identify what the goal is and what you're training to do, and then that's where your PRs are that's the realm your PRs are gonna live in.
Yeah. And it's okay to be in seasons too. Like, in a season can be a year. You can spend a year just like, I really got into weight training and I just wanted to watch my weights go up for a year. That's fine. What I would caution is that if you're taking a long season where your primary focus is strength training, and then you're trying to get back into parkour, you need to consider the other like general training methods that would go into a smart parkour program, which again, getting those getting some kind of interest or practice in general plyometrics and sprint training, and also your cardiovascular training. I think if you can hit those things, then you can probably avoid, again, also nutrition, overtraining, sleep. You can probably avoid some of these really frightening non-contact, non-bail scenario injuries that happen.
Hopefully. Okay, I think we should call it there then. I think this is a great episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a like, a comment below. It will help us out immensely. And we'll see you in the next video.